Welcome to Not So Silent. We'll say what you can't. We think we're right, but I wouldn't bet on it. First off, I want to thank all of you guys for listening. We are blowing up. November was by far the biggest month we've ever seen. Several thousands of views, listens, downloads in the month of November. Now we're off to making December the greatest month ever for us by far. So we need your help. First, please visit www.notsosilent.com, notsosilent.com, and sign up for free to our newsletter. If we can reach 1,000 subscribers on that, we will start writing a significant amount of content as well. I'm going to make Chris do a lot of typing. Next, we need your feedback on YouTube, Rumble, email, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, whatever you like. Communicate with us. You can email us. You can comment on our YouTube videos or Rumble videos. And lastly, please retweet, echo, or share this on your different social media platforms. We want to get this voice out as much as possible. We started the show because we are sick and tired of the uncommon sense that's out there and the fear so many have in speaking their minds. All right, on today's show, we got a ton of stuff. We are going to start covering the election data. We're getting closer and closer, in my opinion, to real answers on it. So we are going to go over a lot of the statistical data. The data is coming in. We're going to talk a little bit about Johns Hopkins and the article they posted about COVID. The top Iranian scientist was assassinated, and there are people in America who are mad. Cuomo is now nominated for Time Person of the Year. Wow. Thanksgiving, I got to experience it in two different ways, the two states that I am basically belong to, and I wanted to talk a little bit about that. And Bitcoin, what's going on with Bitcoin? So we're going to have a little bit of serious or satire, some prognostication station, then we will wrap up with our top five. Top five. Next, Cuomo accolade to add to his trophy case. All right, let me welcome in my esteemed colleagues here. Chris Hertigan in St. Louis, Sean Phelps in Kansas City. How was Thanksgiving, gentlemen?
It's great.
Full. Yeah. Forget about that. Let's get to it.
All right, so let's dive in. So we got some election data coming up, and I sent out on both Twitter and Parler some an article that I read that I found really, really impressive and important. Because for me, I think it's easy, you know, there's a fraud in the election and everything else, and it didn't feel right. Well, feelings mean very little to me. I want to know, and I want the data, and it's starting to come in. I do believe it takes some time for the different data scientists and whatnot to start to really analyze it in a lot of detail. Now, I sent this out a few days ago. On top of that, we'll talk a little bit about Rand Paul and his. So just to polarize it, I sent out it was a blog post from a guy from New Zealand who's a data scientist who he specializes with insurance companies identifying fraud. A forensic investigative accountant, essentially, is actually what he's called. And he went through the 15 different data analysis and data points that are very, very anomalous and striking. Yeah, that's a word, I think.
Okay, that's what you read the face correctly then.
And I'm going to go through those, but I think really more important than even them is our reaction to something like this. And why I say that is yesterday I received a parlay from Rand Paul, and it was about Rand Paul sent out saying, hey, what's going on with the election? You decide after reading this. And he sent out an article that described anomalies in vote counts and their effects on the election in 2020. And it is really, really, it's a quantitative analysis, and it's even over my head, and I'm a really smart person. And it's over my head how deep they get into using logarithmic and everything else to try to understand everything that's going on. You can look at the charts and see it. The big news, though, is after I read that, I told my wife and I said, wow, it's cool. Even a U.S. senators that lends some credibility, because you see some right-wing commentators talk about it, or we talk about it. That's one thing. But when you see a U.S. senator, I'm going to at least take a little bit more credibility around it. But then all of a sudden, Rand Paul, yesterday, I pull up Twitter, he is trending. He was the number one trend yesterday, and he is currently number two. So I pulled it up, and all it was every single person on Twitter, as we know, the crazy left, just basically saying there is no way this is fraud. You're an idiot. You're stupid. I hope you die. I wish you died of COVID. Why isn't anyone looking at this stuff? So let's go through. I want to go through the statistical analysis because this stuff it's pissing me off that no one is listening to this. And Sean, I know you're really into statistical analysis.
Oh yeah, that too.
And data analysis. So I'll try to highlight the article I sent out that I think is pretty important. Statistical anomalies in the 2020 presidential election. Number one, the incumbent loss anomaly. Donald Trump, first incumbent president, 132 years to not be reelected. But the more importantly was how large his growth in his vote, but he still lost. He grew by 10 million votes and yet still lost. Now, by the way, no one's talking about it. I'm not so sure all the Donald Trump votes are real. I think a lot of data dump had to put some in for him too. Number two, the House of Representatives results. There were 27 House seats that were listed as toss-ups by, the people who list these things, mainstream media and so on, listed as toss-ups. All 27 went red. On top of it, in almost every other election, you're going to see the House go with the top of the ticket. And what they say is, on average, you should gain a net 16 House seats when you win the party since 1964. And yet the Democrats lost 12. So instead of gaining 16, they lost 12. That was a big anomaly. The Senate, the same thing. And I'll try to move through it quickly. The swing state anomalies versus Obama's very strong 2008 performance. Now, here's the key. You might go, well, no, Trump won some swing states. Every swing state he won was run primarily by there's a red state. It tends to be a red state, red governor and so on. And what that means, and they go into an extreme amount of detail on it, because you could say, well, what about Georgia? Well, they go into detail as to why Georgia doesn't fit this. And it's because Georgia, 2 years ago in the governor's election, it was claimed that Governor Kemp stole the election by 50,000 votes over Stacey Abrams. And to appease Abrams, they put in all different rules around voter tabulating, and they loosened all the rules around how they counted votes and everything else, which was the only swing state that is a red state that went blue. Bellwether counties. In every country, every democracy in the world, there is a bellwether county or a couple of bellwether counties that you look to that almost every year or every single election go with the eventual winner. And there are two counties in America, both of which went red, but supposedly Biden won. Thousands of precincts, all reporting significant overvote in Michigan. Biden outperforms Obama in 80% underperforms Obama in 80% of Wisconsin counties, but outperforms in 5 of them by a significant margin, 16 to 40% better in those 5 counties, but underperforms by a landslide in every other county in Wisconsin. The Wayne County, Michigan anomaly, as we all know. The anomaly of the hugely lopsided votes in the minutes, and they go through specific by the second because you can see when votes were put in, and they kind of translate the data that you can watch. But between 1 a.m. 3 a.m. Central in the morning of November 4th, in just very, very small amount of minutes, all of a sudden, and you can look at the charts, and actually that is, if you were to look at Rand Paul's his article that he tweeted out, that's what his really spends most of their energy on, is these wild jumps that happen in the middle of the night. I'm still going through more of the statistical anomalies, not just that. The turnout in Wisconsin and Minnesota that were wild. The Pennsylvania mail-in ballot anomaly, that's just crazy. The Michigan counties anomaly, the MIT PhD engineer did an analysis on it and split in 3 Michigan counties. He plotted, did his whole chart and graphs, and there's no way any of this stuff made any sense. The same anomaly happens in Wisconsin, and really interesting was this is number 14, Virginia had they said there's about 40 different ballot drops or dumps. Each and every single one of them went exactly 55-45 Trump, Biden to Trump. Exactly. And one statistical expert said it was like Biden winning a coin toss 100 times in a row. And then last but not least, the mail-in ballot rejection rate is so much lower than it's ever been, historically way, way below an unbelievably small 0.2%, which it normally is anywhere from 1% to 6%. It can get as high as 6%. And yet, and in fact, in Georgia, there was over 6% in 2016, yet an unbelievably small 0.2% in 2020. So you look at all of this data, and this data screams to me something's up, right? I'm not saying it necessarily says there's fraud, but it definitely says something ain't right. So why is no one talking about it? And Sean, I want to know, when you look at this from all the books you've read on statistical analysis, what does this say to you?
Well, I mean, there is definitely a confirmation bias concern of like, are we looking for things that prove that narrative? Are we looking for all statistical anomalies? Because there probably are some statistical anomalies that go pro Joe Biden. Like, how did Trump get so many more votes or whatever? There's got to be something out there that points to that side too. So I'd be curious to see what those claims are. But there's a lot that is weird, right? I'll go back to what I said right after the election, which I think the big win for this election was how it showed that the country is still split. I think that's a good thing. I think having a split government, hopefully the Senate stays red. That's a good thing. And it wasn't a landslide for Biden. So I think it shows that he's got to be a little bit concerned about what he does if he wants another term, or if the Democrats want another term in 2024. They can't go all far over to the AOC Bernie side of the party.
Chris, thoughts?
My tune has changed more from Biden probably won, but let's just check everything to make sure, to this is funky. And I try to listen to as many podcasts as I can about people who try to weigh out both sides really well. Primarily left-leaning people that voted for Obama that now voted for Trump. And it is alarming. And I think I can't cite the polls. You might have some of this data about percentages of both parties that believe that, there was something rigged against Trump. I want to say I read one that was 30% of Democrats believe that Trump had this stolen. And obviously a much larger number of Republicans feel that way too. I'm sort of fast forwarding to like, what outcome here is the best outcome? Because I'm thinking, okay, outcome number one, Trump can't prove it. It looks bad and everybody knows it. It stinks, but he can't prove it. And Biden's elected, in which case nobody believes that he won a fair election. Again, the most damning one you didn't even mention was that Biden got more of the black vote than Obama did. And Biden got more than 10 million votes more than Barack Obama did. That like, it's implying that Barack Obama only got his votes because Joe Biden was on the ticket. That is an impressive hurdle to try to jump.
See, now here's where I disagree. I go, that's one of those feelings, and I hear that, but I go, well, you can make the argument he got more votes because, well, people hate Trump. It's not that they like Biden, but they hate Trump. All right. But the point, again, this is statistical analysis. And Sean, to your point, talk about being not so silent, sitting on a fence. Well, let's see the other side. I'm waiting. There's no one out there claiming any type of look at the numbers against Trump. Look at this. There is zero evidence showing the other side of this. I'm totally open to hearing it. I have posted, please refute anything that you see here. Tell me anything that's crazy. But Sean, to the point of this, what they're showing is they're showing statistical anomalies, and all of the statistical anomalies are in favor of Biden. That's the point, is going, anything that looks statistically weird is pointing towards Biden. And actually, there was another thing posted by General Flynn. Congrats on getting, pardoned. But he posted an article in the American Thinker where they go through the code, because the New York Times has showed the code. I don't know, all the IT coding, right? The developers. And they go through it, and the person actually puts it like in layman's terms. And according to what he posted, there was actually a period of time where they were going through Virginia at midnight or just after midnight where the votes went backwards. They went backwards. And the only way that it would ever go backwards was they needed to clean up the mess that they had made because, and I remember on the night of the election, all of a sudden I was reading the election wizard, and he's this, pretty statistical guy. He was claiming all these different things. When Virginia was called by the news outlets, he claimed and said, hey, I'm hearing that was early. I believe it's actually going to go Trump. I heard it's still in play. And then all of a sudden Virginia was a very, very strange how the votes were being tabulated.
Well, you haven't even talked about the affidavits. Are people saying, I was there as an observer when they told everybody to go home, we're going to stop counting. And as soon as everybody left, they started counting again. Like you got hundreds of these.
Why is the press not covering any of it? Why can you read none of it on CNN, none of it on MSNBC? Even Fox is covering up some of it, not the major anchors on Fox, but Fox in general is starting to cover up some of it. And all of the left-wing media, which is the majority of our media, keep coming out with their, there was no evidence of fraud. There's nothing. Hey, nothing to see here. Put Biden in. Nothing to see here.
They change it, right? They go, well, there's no widespread evidence. Then the latest one is there's no new evidence being presented. Like, okay, yeah, there is evidence. And they keep playing these word games and just straight up lying. And I think a lot of people see through it, man. I really do. I think it's showing the polls of people who think this thing was rigged. And you pretty much can't convince me, no matter who gets elected, that there wasn't something fishy going on here.
I wholeheartedly agree. And I would like to think that everyone would go, let's look at this and let's make sure it was done right, instead of just trying to find anything to say, let's stop talking about it.
And the Dems are trying to block everything in court. If everything's on the up and up, you should be going, fine, do your due diligence, like go through the process and let's see what happens, right? But no, they're trying to fight tooth and nail.
Yep. The recount, he got 100 more votes. The recount does nothing but make sure that the count was right. It doesn't check that anything was done accurately. It just makes sure that they didn't miscount. Uh-huh. And that doesn't show if there was fraud. It just shows if they counted correctly. Uh-huh. There is so many different things that are screaming. Here's how I look at it. I look at it like a murder, right? So if you were to say murder and you're a crime scene investigator or whatever, we know motive. There's clear motive. And we can see what happened. We're just trying to find the murder weapon, right? We're searching for the murder weapon, like O.J. Simpson. We never found the murder weapon. But I think we see a lot of proof that something weird happened here. And there was definitely potentially a crime occurred. We're just trying to figure out exactly how it got done. We're trying to put it together, and no one is trying to help. It's amazing. It's like this crazy groundswell of just right-wing people out there who are searching for the truth. And frankly, if I go back 4 years and everyone, I remember this distinctly, was talking about everything going on with Russia, and they colluded. I remember my friends, the right-wing people, going, if foreign people are messing with our election, we need to get to the bottom of this. The worst part about this, it's not foreign anymore. It's domestic. Big tech is trying to censor everything. Rand Paul tweets that out. It has a little message. Oh, there's no election fraud. There's no election fraud. And you see it on Twitter. You see it on Facebook. Then the media comes out. There's no evidence of fraud. Move on. He's president. Move on. Let him go. Move on. I found that pretty interesting. How about the fact that Kamala Harris has not resigned from her Senate seat? Obama did in 2008 on November 16th. Well, we're almost in December and she hasn't. I wonder if she knows there's a chance. So I find that, some interesting stuff. I think they know more because no one wants to talk about it. And I don't know why. I think it's crazy. I think it's something that needs to be investigated and really gotten to the bottom of it, because there is way too much. And we said it, 3 podcasts ago, the lottery theory. There's no way all of this statistical stuff is going to go in one favor of Biden. Again, he won a coin toss 100 times in a row. Chris, you're laughing.
Yeah, because you just made me think about it. And Biden, he almost broke a hip petting his dog. He had to go to an orthopedic surgeon to get it, checked out. He's petting his dog, and he hurt himself. He's got to get checked out.
How about the fact, very classy, Donald Trump tweeted out, "Get well soon." I thought that was classy.
It is classy, yeah.
So All right. So
He was classy. He was classy to King Jong Un too.
This is true. All right. So Johns Hopkins. Have you guys heard about the Johns Hopkins COVID article?
I have.
So Johns Hopkins released an article that stated that the article titled "A Closer Look at U.S. Deaths Due to COVID-19," and the article basically said there hasn't seen a real growth in death in the United States this year. Therefore, COVID-19 really is not as significant as needs. Well, I guess you can interpret it how you'd like. And after being posted on the Johns Hopkins newsletter, which is their student-run newspaper, it got retracted, and that has caused some significant backlash. Sean.
Yeah, it was deleted and retracted.
So it is no longer deleted. However, you cannot get it on their website, but I can, if you guys would like. They have reposted it in PDF form somewhere that no one will ever find it. And their response to it, the author's response was, being that it's a student-run newspaper, they simply rotate the articles on a weekly basis to showcase many different student articles. That's BS, and we all know student-run newspapers don't cycle out their stuff if it's getting any traction, correct, Badger Herald? However, after what the school actually wrote, they decided to retract the article to stop the spread of misinformation, as we explained on social media. However, it is our responsibility as journalists to provide a historical record. We have chosen to take down the article from our website, but it is available here as a PDF, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They do not say anything that was stated was wrong. They just have changed it. I think is interesting. They're talking about how they believe it might trivialize COVID, but they didn't necessarily say anything in there was false. So what say you guys on the censorship by Johns Hopkins? Nothing?
I think it creates a lot more attention to it. I think this would have died down. If they didn't want it to get out, the worst thing they could do is cancel it, and now it's everywhere.
I agree. I just find it amazing that anyone who is a dissenting voice is completely attempted either by big tech, by the academic system or the university system, by our government, by social media. The ability to suppress is out of control in our country. And again, this wasn't hate speech that was put out there. This was some analysis on the death rates in America and the people who died and everything else to basically show that COVID hasn't been as significant as it's being, utilized by whoever, the politicians or government officials or public health departments. Doesn't mean that it's right or wrong, but that was their analysis. Why can no longer you write an opinion piece that goes against the grain is beyond me. And that's where I think censorship is becoming a major problem in America. And used to be the left was the one screaming for free speech. And boy, has that shifted to where the right is going, why can't you let me talk? All right. So moving away from COVID here for a second, did you guys hear that the top Iranian scientist was assassinated? The top Iranian scientist was assassinated.
I did not hear this. Who did it?
Yeah. And well, I don't know if they know exactly who did it. I'm sure there's a lot of theories that it was Israelis or Americans or whatever, but this scientist in the past has been related to or compared to, I should say, the founder of the atomic bomb, the American scientist who founded the atomic bomb. And this guy, clearly, he's involved in, he's their top nuclear scientist. He's their top scientist in their nuclear program, was just assassinated. And many people are saying this was a great thing, right? This guy was not a good dude. He was creating nuclear weapons for Iran. Of course, the left-wing media has come out and said how awful that was for us to assassinate him. And that the Iranian, by the way, the New York Times tweeted out that the Iranians have said their nuclear program is all for peace, has nothing to do with weapons. And therefore, the New York Times trusts the Iranians, believes what they had to say, and says this was bad. How dare we do this? I mean,
do we know that we even did it, or are they saying we as in like somebody?
Yeah, no, I'm not saying we. I shouldn't say that. They just they are defending the scientists. Put it that way.
It's amazing, dude.
It is absolutely amazing that they can come out and that they can protect those people and talk about it is mind blowing to me. And this is Iran. At what point are we going to have, because Sean, you mentioned this a little while ago. You had said, we need a common enemy, and that was a big part of things. We don't have we can't even agree that Iran is an enemy of the America. I mean, I think that's pretty clear, right? I'm not saying we shouldn't talk to them and try to work through our problems, but let's be clear. I think we should all agree Iran, they're bad. They're bad. And we should not be trying to play nice with Iran. But yet the liberal media is actually defending Iran more than it defends America. That is shocking to me. That's where we're at as a country. So I am concerned when stuff like that happens. All right, on to our next topic. Cuomo, Governor Cuomo. I consider him, and we have voted that he was the worst governor, or is the worst governor in America. So the first things first, he made a poster showing how amazing it was that how he dealt with COVID. Now he is writing a book on leadership during COVID. And COVID's not even done, but he's writing a leadership, even though he has more deaths attributed to him and more deaths in the state of New York than anywhere else. He's writing a book on leadership during it. Then a week ago, he was given an Emmy for his press releases during COVID. And now Time Magazine has nominated him for Time Person of the Year. What is going on in the land of New York, where Governor Cuomo, who is a dictator, he's an absolute...
I knew we were going to talk about this, and I did a little bit of digging. Just to be aware, full disclosure, he won't win the Time Person of the Year award. He is not in the top candidates at all in ranking. And other people named as possible candidates include President Trump, Joe Biden, AOC, Mitch McConnell, Elizabeth Warren, Anthony Fauci. They're all over the place. I mean, they have every possible candidate. They got 80 candidates. So he's a candidate. He's not even in the top 10 in votes right now. The two leaders are Fauci, who is currently tied with essential workers, which is just, where they put a bunch of pictures of like nurses and not teachers, though. There's no teachers in the picture.
Of course not.
Almost poster, but with like more nurses. And so you got that. And then you've also got Harris, Biden, Black Lives Matter activists as a group.
Oh.
And Abrams is also on there. So most likely we're looking at probably Fauci or essential workers as the winner, but I don't think he'll win Times Person of the Year.
I mean, it's remarkable. And we're going to get to our top 5 later, and we will discuss the next Cuomo accolade that's going to be thrown down for this dictator of New York, who's absolutely crazy and has completely mismanaged COVID more than anyone. In fact, many reports have anywhere from 7,000 to 11,000 deaths on his decision-making alone to put the elderly back into nursing homes early on during COVID. And again, we can all say, hey, he made a mistake. We didn't know what was going on. That's fine. Don't write a freaking book about leadership during it. Don't make a poster about how great you are. Shouldn't be getting an Emmy for it. And I promise you should not be Time Person of the Year or even nominated for it with that kind of mistake or blunder. Somehow Trump is responsible for 300,000 deaths, but Cuomo is getting an Emmy. I mean, this is the insanity of the media, and it's mind-blowing. It is absolutely mind-blowing. I'm surprised anyone gets Time anymore, but I guess that still is print media. All right. Lastly, Thanksgiving. Did you guys have Thanksgiving with extended family?
Yes.
Small amount.
What'd you say, Sean?
Just a small amount, just the in-laws.
Okay. So, well, part of it is you don't live near them. So I did travel back to Chicago, and I got to tell you, it is amazing the differences. As many people know who follow us pretty closely, I recently moved from Chicago down to Nashville to get away from Chicago, to get away from the school system, what's being taught, the taxes, everything in that state. And going back, this is the first time we've gone back. It's about 2 months later. It is remarkable how different things are in Chicagoland versus Nashville land. It is incredible how they govern in Chicago with fear and how all the people in Chicago are just afraid. There's so much fear in Chicago and around the coronavirus. I mean, Thanksgiving, even the people who thought and think, the coronavirus is overblown and they're mad their kids aren't in school and sports have been shut down and they're upset. They're still the ones who we couldn't hang out with because, well, it's, we got grandparents and there's so much fear being driven up in Chicago versus down here in Nashville. It's not that people aren't being logical about it, because they are. They understand there is this disease circulating called COVID-19, but they're approaching it with such logic and reasoning behind it. They're looking at data and they're making decisions based on it. Like my junior high kid, he is remote school this week, strictly because they assume there will be a rise in cases this week. And instead of putting everyone in school this week, keep them out of school this week so it doesn't spread fast in the schools, and then go back to school next week. To me, that is logical. What did they do in Illinois 2 weeks ago, at least in our district? Everything just shut down. Shut down until January 19th. We'll go back. We'll discuss it in January 19th, maybe going hybrid. All sports completely closed. Nothing. Not even practice, not even drills, nothing. Everything shut down in the state of Illinois. I mean, it's just remarkable to me how they're treating things so differently. And I have never seen something where and maybe if you're a gun owner, you would go, oh yeah, that's how it is. In certain states, I can get a gun. Others I can't. But this is I've never seen such a gigantic difference in how one local area is handling something versus another. It is remarkable to me. And for any of you who live in a blue district, I'd love to hear what you guys think of your municipality, your city, your state, and how you've been dealing with it. But I was so thankful to get back to Tennessee, get my kids back to basketball practice yesterday, get my kids in school today. My elementary kids were all in school today. Again, it is a breath of fresh air for people who use logic and reasoning down here in Tennessee versus what's going on in Illinois. So, all right. Last little thing, Bitcoin's at an all-time high. Has anyone noticed that?
It's this thing still?
Yeah, it is.
I thought it was like Chuck E. Cheese tickets. Like we just kind of I still have some of those.
No, Bitcoin is a thing, and it is it's booming. I lost a bunch on it, but I held on to it, waiting for it to come back. It's coming back. Bitcoin is now over $19,000 for one Bitcoin. Ethereum is up to over 600. It had gotten over 1,000 at its peak, but Bitcoin's headed towards $20,000 per Bitcoin. Any theories as to why Bitcoin in the last 3 months has skyrocketed? I have one.
Go ahead.
All right. I think it is because cryptocurrency by and large is anti-government, anti-regulation. And I think there's fear in the amount of government control in America. And I know cryptocurrency is a worldwide thing, but I think a lot of it is you're seeing Americans more and more skeptical of the government, how things are run, don't want their money invested in US dollars or Chinese dollars, whatever. They want cryptocurrency. That's my sneaking suspicion.
Kind of getting ready for the black market after the Great Reset.
Yes. Yep. I'm not kidding. I think it is more to do with people who want their money in something that can't be taken, can't be regulated, etc. So it is it's skyrocketing, and I think people need to start watching Bitcoin, and because you're seeing cryptocurrencies go through the roof. I have watched my in total cryptocurrency investments drop 90% and now they're back to 60% of their initial value. So they've actually gone up 5 times what it had gotten down to in about the last 6 months or
What
so.
you're saying is you still have lost money.
I have still lost money, but it is almost back. But again, I bought at literally, I think I was the last one to buy, and then it tanked. Like my money shot it down. So
is that the money that you got after the Madoff settlement?
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, I did not. Thank you for the misinformation. Facebook, make sure you censor this. All right. So let's move on to our serious or satire.
Well, I meant like you were one of the last investors in the Madoff scheme.
Yes. So serious or satire? Who's got some serious or satire? This is the section where we look at our headlines of today, which are so blurred it's hard to tell what's real and what is make believe.
Serious or satire? Alabama offers remote workers the opportunity to travel to the state for free.
That's serious.
Serious.
Satire.
Oh, I know there are states that are doing that.
Hawaii, free round trips for remote workers.
Arkansas is offering $10,000 for people who relocate.
Hawaii's serious. If you're one of the people that gets accepted, there are 50, I think, per month now. The first round gets accepted December 15th. You can apply to go for free to Hawaii. I think you have to do some community service. And
all right, next.
Chris.
Brie Larson, in her Captain Marvel role, an avowed feminist, has argued that her sexuality should be ambiguous as Captain Marvel for the upcoming movies. Now, after coming out with that, she's now under attack and is being asked to resign by the LGBTQ community, that a legit LGBTQ person should be playing the role.
Well, it's got to be serious.
Serious.
Satire.
Ah.
Okay. So feminists are upset about the use of the term beaver. And I don't know how to really put this. They're advocating for a different term to be used, and it's particularly because a beaver is really hairy, and most women's undercarriage is no longer hairy.
Can we go with woodchuck?
Serious or satire?
Satire.
Satire.
You sure?
Yes.
It's satire.
All right.
But possible candidates. I've got possum's tail, turkey chin, naked cat butt, albino walrus flippers, and cuttlefish. All right. So a typo leads to a fully funded and approved manned mission to Mars.
Well, what? Manned mission?
A NASA approved manned mission to Mars.
What's Mark?
There was a typo.
Oh.
Serious?
Serious.
Satire. All right. So serious or satire, the Raptors will be moving to Florida to play for next year.
Serious. They're going to play in Tampa.
Serious.
Okay. Serious or satire, they're replacing their logo with a shirtless guy shooting fireworks at an alligator.
Satire.
Serious.
Okay. So there is a left-leaning Toronto newspaper that has done some homework on Trump's giving to the homeless, and they're claiming that it's a tax evasion racket for both parties.
Satire.
What'd you say, Sean?
Serious.
That is satire. And that's all I got for today.
All right. I like the new Raptors.
On the sports news, do you guys hear about the 49ers?
That they have to move to the Cardinals. They're going to play in the Cardinals because Santa Clara County has shut like the entire county completely down. So they're going to have to play in Arizona and practice in Arizona.
Wow.
That's pretty remarkable. Again,
He didn't call him. Shanahan was not happy.
So for those of you in California, please reach out to us. I feel your pain. I moved to Tennessee. You should move to Texas or Florida or somewhere else.
Unless you're a liberal who's going to come here and vote liberal. So don't do that.
Well, otherwise, stay where you're at.
Yeah.
All right. On to Prognostication Station. So December 14th is the big day. I don't know if you guys realize it. Many people at home don't realize December 14th is a very important day December 14th is when the Electoral College votes. That's when the electoral votes are going to be cast. And that's when, in many people's eyes, that's when this actual election is going to be dictated. No one's really talking about it, but December 14th is a big day. I want to know, what do you guys think will happen on December 14th? So, Chris, December 14th, the Electoral College is going to vote. Who's going to win, or what say you on that day?
Nobody will have enough Electoral College votes to win.
Okay, so in that case, then it will go to the legislature, and most people theorize then Trump is going to win. All right, so that's your belief. Sean, what do you believe will happen on December 14th?
Biden will win.
So Biden will have 270 or more votes. What I believe will happen is, I'm siding with Chris. I think you're going to find not enough Electoral College votes, and it will go to the legislature. So now we have option A and option B. So in Sean's case, if Biden wins, what do you think will happen? Give me a prognostication of something that you believe will happen in the future after that. You could say something along the lines of what's going to happen on January 20th when he's inaugurated. Will Trump act like Tony Montana and, have a table full of blow in the Oval Office and not leave? Or you tell me what you think is going to happen. Prognosticate, if Biden does win, what happens? Sean.
Trump starts his news network.
Trump starts a news network. Chris.
Nothing's going to happen. It's going to be the inverse of what we just saw. And you're going to have about 100 million people coming after Biden every single week and critiquing everything he says and does. And I think the Democratic Party will be completely fractured between the progressives and the traditional liberals.
All right. And my theory is you will now have a new Russia 2.0, but now it's to Biden. They're going to fight for the next 4 years to find more and more evidence that shows that this was done, wrongly, and they're going to try to impeach Biden and everything else. And I do believe in 2022, the House will flip red. All right. So if Trump wins, let's say Chris and I are correct, and Trump, you don't get 270 votes and it goes to the legislature and the legislature votes in Trump. What happens, Sean?
Mostly peaceful protests.
Chris.
Democrat-controlled cities will get burned to the ground, and any red states will call in the National Guard, and it'll be fine.
Yeah, I think it'll be a civil war. I don't think it'll be fine like Chris is saying. I think we're all on the same page. If it happens, you're going to have something we've never seen before. I mean, if you thought what happened this summer was bad, multiply it by about 100. I think it is going to be absolute pandemonium. I think the media will lose their minds in the coverage of this, and the media, which they have been doing this whole time, is going to create such a significant amount of division in this country that it'll be absurd, just like they did in 2016 and just like they're doing again now. They are driving people to their corners, and when that happens, it won't be, well, that's how the law played out and that's how this happened, and let's get real, because there were dozens of people on the left, prominent people on the left, people in the House, prominent media members, stating that they thought the Electoral College back in 2016 should vote for Clinton, even though Trump had won. They wanted votes to go to Clinton. They thought the electorates should just go rogue, but they're not going to agree with it this time. And it's going to be pandemonium. And I think you will see, as close as we can see, to a civil war in 2020. I think it'll be, I still trying to figure out what that means. What is it? I think every city is going to be burned to the ground. I think National Guard and military are going to get called in. I think you're going to see some as close to a civil war as you can imagine. All right. So there's our prognostication. And next episode, we'll talk about the Georgia Senate races. So top 5 things. Oh, we got to edit that. Top 5 things. Top 5 next Cuomo accolade. Next Cuomo accolade. Again, we talked about this. Cuomo has been given an Emmy, a book deal, and now is nominated for Time Person of the Year. What will be his next accolade we can shower this amazingly horrible governor with, who has caused more death than anyone else due to COVID, but loves to talk about how amazing he is? So We'll start with Sean. We'll go Sean, Taylor, Chris, and we'll do it like a snake draft. Sean.
AL Cy Young.
What?
An AL Cy Young award.
Nice. All right.
I'm just things he deserves. I'm going with here.
All right. So my number 5, he will be the next Fox News anchor as they keep moving more left.
Ooh, I like that.
All right, Chris.
There's only one place to go from an Emmy, and that's an Oscar. Because Cuomo is a great guy, but he does an amazing job playing a convincing narcissistic douchebag. It's an amazing performance.
All right. You're 4, Chris.
He's going to win the Big Brother award, and that's going to be a different award from each party. So for the Democrats, it's the Big Brother, as in he took care of everybody so well. And the Republicans are giving him a slightly different Big Brother award, as in the Big Brother who is peeking around your Thanksgiving Day windows to make sure you don't have a party of over 5.
All right. My number 4, he will be the lead general for the Liberal Army in the Civil War, like General Lee. Sean.
Board of directors for Twitter.
he's already pretty close to that. All right, Sean, you're 3.
China's person of the year.
That's great.
Nice.
I love that.
All right, my number 3. We are going to be renaming the Nobel Prizes. It'll now be the Cuomo Peace Prize and the Cuomo Laureate.
I've got the Mussolini Award, which has been it has not been in contention for years, but for a fascist to kill as many people as he did, he has now won the coveted Mussolini Award.
Is that an Italian thing? That feels kind of racist.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it is an Italian thing.
All right, next. Wait, is it me?
Oh, no, it's me. This is a bit of a cheat because I looked up the old awards that he had won before, and I just found this one interesting, that in his fraternity, he was voted most likely to get teabagged on any given night.
All right, nice. All right, my number 2, as we have seen, academia is the craziest, most progressive part of our country, maybe more so than even the media. Harvard is going to give him an honorary degree.
Tenure.
Yeah, and tenure. I think that's the number. Yeah, there you go. All right, Sean.
Number 2, I was thinking maybe the Che T-shirt or the Obama poster would just have his face on it. And then my number 1 is he'll do some sort of like nursing home visit where he will then catch COVID and die and win a Darwin Award.
He'll win a Darwin Award. I love it. All right, my number 1, like Chris, he talked about his fraternity superlatives. You know, in high school, when you give out superlatives at the end of the year, he will win most likely to kill your grandma.
Why did that take me a second? Duh. So it turns out Biden is going to award him the Cuomo On Man Award. And this is an award for, I don't know, I forgot. Move the teleprompter up is what it reads in the text here. So.
All right, so those are the top 5 next Cuomo accolades. Let us know what you think. All right, so that's it for our show here. Last one in November. Again, we want to crush December. We want December to be tens of thousands of views, subscribers. So please do me a favor. Go to Parler and follow us at Not So Silent Pod, at Not So Silent Pod. Same on Twitter, Facebook.com/Not So Silent Pod, Instagram. Go to www.notsosilent.com, notsosilent.com, and at the bottom, put your email in so that we can connect with you. And please make sure you comment on this, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Let us know what you think. Tell us how amazing we are, how good looking I am, and how fat Chris looks. All right.
I hope Cuomo lives a long, healthy life. I hope he doesn't catch COVID. I would like to make fun of him for many years to come.
Yes, and we will. I'm sure we'll have plenty more Cuomo sections. All right. Goodbye. Right around the